As a little boy, lying in his bed, my father would hear the planes overhead, on their way in, then, in the small hours of the morning, heading back to Germany. This was in England, in Kent, a few miles south and east of London. My father was born in 1934, which meant he was 5 when the Second World War broke out. Kent was called Bomb Alley by the British because it was the English county that German warplanes would fly over on their way to London. It was not uncommon in those years that if a bomber missed its target or had bombs left over, it would simply drop them anywhere on the return trip. One day, a stray bomb landed in my grandparents' back garden. It didn't explode, it just sat there, half buried in the ground, and I think it's fair to say that if you were a 5-year-old boy with an interest in things mechanical, a German bomb sitting unexploded in your backyard would have been just about the most extraordinary experience imaginable. Not that my father described it that way. My dad was a mathematician and an Englishman, which is to say that the language of emotion was not his first language. Rather, it was like Latin or French, something which one could study and understand, but never fully master. No, that an unexploded German bomb in your backyard would be the most extraordinary experience imaginable for a 5-year-old was my interpretation when my father told me that story of the bomb when I was 5 years old. That was in the late 1960s. We were living in England then, in Southampton. Reminders of what the country had gone through were still everywhere. If you went to London, you could still tell where the bombs had landed, wherever a hideous, brutalist building had sprouted up on some centuries-old block.
Here they come in absolute steep dive, and you can see their bombs actually leave the machines and come into the water. You can hear our own guns going like anything now.
BBC Radio was always on in our house, and in those days it seemed like every second interview was with an old general or paratrooper or prisoner of war.
We shall prove ourselves once again able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war.
The first short story I wrote as a kid was about how Hitler was actually still alive and coming for England again. I sent it to my grandmother, the one in Kent, who'd had the unexploded bomb in the back garden. When my mother heard about my story, she admonished me. Someone who lived through the war might not enjoy a plot line about Hitler's return, she reminded me.